What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to give you my reaction to the Acolyte Episode 7 Choices. Well, I just finished watching this episode, and like every episode of the Acolyte I watch, I am sleepy afterwards. And I think it's because nothing really happens in this shit. I think that's really what it is. Now, this is the penultimate episode, as they would say. This is the episode before the last of this series. And in the 30 minutes of this one episode, the only thing that I got was what we kind of figured out already. Right? What we find out is what Soul's team was doing on Brendock 16 years ago, and how the witches from the Coven actually met their demise. Now, there was still fire involved. There were still dead witches involved. There were still Jedi involved. The sequence of events that led to all of that, while it was interesting in some aspects, ultimately, some of it didn't make much sense. It was still like, okay, why? Now, you open this episode with 16 years ago, seeing that Soul and the team are on Brendock gathering samples like it's a freaking Star Trek episode, and they're the away team. Now, why they are doing this and in the marshlands and the creeks and stuff in full Jedi robes is a wonder to me. Seems like the robes would be pretty filthy. But they're picking up soil samples and whatnot, looking for a vergence in the Force. Now, to me, if over the course of 100 years ago, this planet was uninhabited, and you come back within 100 years and there's life all over it, I would say that was normal. But sending two masters or three masters and a Padawan out to do a little recon work, collecting soil samples, looking for vergence in the Force, seems a bit stupid to me. Now, through the course of this little research, Soul inevitably happens upon Osha and May. And we see the same scene we saw in the beginning of the first episode. You see Osha sitting under the bunta tree and playing with the little fairies, and then May coming along and playing with the little fairies. And what you find out is that Soul was watching and saw them doing this. He saw them be taken by Mother Coral back to the encampment, found their base, scaled the mountain to get inside the base and do his little bit of recon. To find out there's a coven here of about 50 witches and only 2 kids. And he feels a connection to one of the kids, because at this time he does not have a Padawan. Now, all the rest of the events that we've already seen play out the way we know them to. We're just seeing it from Soul's side of the equation. And what you find out is that things got a little bit of foobar. That's pretty much what it is, because some people in the situation make some really dumb choices. Now, the point at which is interesting in a sense, but ultimately pays off for no reason at all. I don't really see what all the rest of the Jedi were guilty for. I really don't. Now, Tobin did some dumb stuff as a Padawan, but he's a Padawan. Charging off without his master to go rescue some girls because they figured out that they were the virgins in the Force. That's not right. That doesn't seem right. But that's a choice. Hence the name of the episode. Soul going back with him and scaling the wall and them jumping inside of there with the rest of the witches and coming to get Osha or coming to get the twins. And the coven being aware to it. Mother Coral putting her daughter up to use her anger, but her sister couldn't leave. That seems dumb, but that is a choice. Mother Anastasia going into her whole Galadriel form in front of a Jedi. For what reason? To stop everybody from doing what? And apparently all these bitches can do it. Okay. What is that used for? Good party trick. What else can you do? It didn't. It made no sense. What you end up finding out is that since we have a number on how many witches it is, at least two of them were not part of the group. And it looked like for a moment that the witches were going to have a little bit of civil war within their own ranks, to me. But it took a good complement of witches to take over the Wookiee Kalnaka and get him to fight the other two Jedis of Soul and Tobin. Now, while that might be interesting to say, it wasn't interesting to watch because it's just a big dude swinging a stick, swinging a glow rod. There is no technique, there is no skill. He just swinging things. I'm like, please don't remind me that this heifer that made this show said something about the greatest lightsaber fights you've ever seen. Please don't say she said that again. This was trash. He looked about as skilled as Rey in The Last Jedi, just swinging a lightsaber like a baseball bat. Yeah, we've never seen a Wookiee on screen with a lightsaber fighting. And you know what? We still haven't. We saw a Wookiee on screen with a glow stick swinging it around. Now, my question is, if Mother Anastasia could take over Padawan Tobin by herself, why did it take so many of these witches to take over Kalnaka? Like they had a full complement of them. Like it looked like about 20 or 30 of them. But since everybody in the coven is supposed to be dead, and it's only supposed to be 50 of them, well, I guess 48 of them it took to take over one Wookiee, which makes no sense. Unless they are really low level and really weak. Either way, the actual atrocity of this whole thing was not necessarily perpetrated by Soul. It was perpetrated by Master and Daughter. Because what she did in setting Kalnaka free basically killed all them witches. All but one. Because one escaped. You don't see her anywhere. She just missed it out on. Where is she? She obviously wasn't there with the rest of them. So I guess that leads to people thinking that, oh, Master Coral is the dark sider. Well, it would look like it from this episode. She's the only one who's not laid out with the rest of them. And she's the only one that was teaching her daughter to use her anger, the lower emotions in your consciousness, to keep her sister from leaving. I was hoping I would find something memeable in this episode, something I could take and use and make more fun out of it, have a good giggle out of it. Wasn't nothing here. I didn't see anything that was remotely entertaining or funny, except for all the witches sitting there holding hands. Ooh. That in the silly ass ending song. This show has gone nowhere fast. Nowhere. And these supposed cliffhangers every episode are just BS. Just BS. This episode didn't end in a way that I thought, oh God, I need to see the finale. No, it didn't. It ended in a way that I looked at it like, that's it. Oh, get the fuck. It ended in a way I was just irritated. I didn't get much to laugh at in this one, which I was kind of disappointed about. But you do see why all these people are laid out. You do see where the lie comes from. And who thought it up. And who went along with it. But it doesn't show you, to me at least, it doesn't show me anywhere why Master Topin would feel so guilty. I guess it could tell me why Kalnaka, kind of went away and was feeling kind of crazy because he had a bunch of chicks in his head. He had a bunch of witches in his mind controlling him. I don't know. Maybe he felt he couldn't control himself afterwards. I don't know. It doesn't explain any of that. Seemed like Master Topin was fine. Or Padawan Topin was fine. What's Kalnaka's excuse? It was the main point that I think people will seize on, and where I think Soul's guilt comes from, is from his interaction with Mother Anastasia and his choice at the end on which twin to save. But there does come a point where he has to make a decision on which twin to save. He's trying to save both of them. He can only pick one. Apparently, he ain't strong enough. So he chooses. And he chooses the one he had the most connection to. The one that wanted to come with him, as opposed to the one that didn't. And he let her go. Now, in that situation, it's a crappy situation, but Spider-Man has had to make the same decision before. There is no easy choice either way. It's a shit decision. but he had to make it. He made it. I don't see what all the guilt is about necessarily, unless it's survivor's guilt, or you think you should have saved the other twin. I don't see what everybody's so guilt ridden about personally. I really don't. It doesn't seem from this episode that what was lined out was as big of a deal as they made it. So for me, it was a bit underwhelming because everything leading up to that might have made you think that these Jedis just went in there and cut down all these women. But the women, in essence, died of their own fucking stupidity, their own choices. The lie didn't even come from Soul. The story didn't even come from Soul. It further breaks canon to let you know that the council supposedly knew some of this stuff and couldn't sense some of its members being in there in a meeting with them lying to them. I'm glad this show is over next week. I really am, because I won't be sad to see it go, and I will enjoy watching something else other than this. So, with that, that is my reaction to episode 7 of the Acolyte choices. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. $artisanmc on Cash App or artisanmc on PayPal. And I will see you guys next time when I feel like watching the damn Acolyte. Peace.